Ladies and gentlemen, it's almost time for the speeches, but before almost time for the speeches, we'll do that again in just a minute, honest. Ladies and gentlemen, before the speeches begin, our bride would like just to say a few words.
Hello everybody. I wasn't going to do a speech, so I haven't prepared anything, but firstly I'd like to thank you all for coming. You all look lovely. And the reason why I've stood up is because in the rush this morning I forgot to give my dad his very small gift. But I think you might need it for this bit. So it's only very small, but sorry, I forgot. Yeah, I wrapped it quite well. Read it out loud.
Father of the bride, thank you for walking.
You need it, you need it.
Thank you for walking.
Read it out.
Father of the bride, thank you for walking by my side today and always. Thank you. That's a good start, isn't it? I'm trying not to cry and I haven't even started yet.
So ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to inform you that it's time for the speeches! You ready for this?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Yeah, I'm all right.
So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, would you please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, the father of the bride!
Oh, someone got applauded like that. I was putting my wheelie bin out during lockdown. Listen, I googled what to say for this speech, and there was a lot on there, but the first one obviously is the introduction. And from the bottom of our hearts, Justine, Paul, Sally and I would love to welcome all of you today. We're really pleased you're here and genuinely really appreciate your company and enjoying this very special day. So thank you very much. One thing I thought to put in there was there are some people that have come from a very, very long way, and I'm not talking about Cheshunt. Jono here has flown all the way from New Zealand to be here with his brother. So well done, Jono. Come all this way for a free meal. So I'm sure you'll agree, I know I'm biased, but I was really taken aback when I saw Ella today. She looks absolutely stunning. The most beautiful bride I've ever seen, other than Justine, obviously. But yeah, I was really taken aback, and it touched me a great deal because she's, yeah, looked great. That's that out of the way. Yeah. So, fuck it, I ain't got my glass on. Yeah, one of the other things they said in there is not to get too sentimental. So people who know me know that I went to a boarding school in the 70s, and you was taught not to cry. So I didn't cry for 40 years, which is handy for me, right? But recently I've gone the other way. So I cry at the John Lewis Christmas ad now, so I'll try and keep this as unsentimental as possible. I didn't know much about Will before I met Ella. I remember the first date was at Marconato's, wasn't it? And we sent Joel, Ella's cousin, on a trip there to make sure that Will was all right. And if he wasn't, he wouldn't be sitting here now, obviously. So thanks for that, Joel. I didn't mean it. But yeah, he's. I can't. There's not enough expletives I can say about Will. That for me, he's tenacious. He's hard-working. He's a great dad, great boyfriend, and he's bright, intelligent. Well, that's what I thought anyway. Till I spoke to So I spoke to his best mate, Joe, who told me that one day at school, the English teacher said to the class, the letter of the day is the letter N. And she said to Will, tell me something you're not good at that begins with the letter N. And he said, spelling. So, yeah, perhaps I was on the wrong path there. And Darren told me one time that there was a minute's silence and Will's watch stopped and he was standing there for 2 hours. That aside, someone actually asked me recently how I feel about losing my daughter. I don't feel I've lost my daughter. I feel like I've gained a son. And a son that I know I can be proud of, because I know that Sally and Paul are immensely proud of him. And I am too. So, Will, welcome to the family, mate. That's enough about Will, because the best man speech. He's hilarious, man. I've read it. He'll be laughing in the aisles. The right couple of comedians. So, with Ella, again, it's difficult with Ella because she was basically the model child. She always had a smile on her face. She was always bouncy. Everyone loved her. But like all kids, when they get to teenagers, they get a little bit tetchy. And she went to Presdale's and she formed a friendship group with a... I haven't said a joke yet. With the girls sitting somewhere in the back corner there. And they're still friends to this day. So there's got to be something in that. I remember they used to come around our house before they went out for pre-drinks at 7 and then piss off at 11, which I could never understand. And after they left, Justin would spend about 3/4 of an hour wiping fake tan off of every surface they'd touched. And it was the type of fake tan where you don't know where the arm finishes and the bag starts. It's one of them fake tans. So it was, but yeah, she was wonderful, Ella, and she's remained that to this day. I've got a bit here. One of the things that I thought was, I know Will's desperate to speak, so I'm going to try and hurry this up. But I'll end this now so Will can have a little chat with you all. But one of the things I'll say to both of them is, with experience comes knowledge, with knowledge comes wisdom. But don't confuse them, because knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit, and wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad. And if you remember that, you'll be fine. So stay strong and be confident. And life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning how to dance in the rain. And I think both you guys can do that, because you're a perfect match. I'm going to raise one toast today to absent friends, because I know Pam and Bill, Will's grandfather and grandmother, and Nana and Badhead, sorry. I can't be here today, so if we can raise a toast to them, that'd be wonderful. So absent friends. And it leaves me last thing to say to Ella. She's cut me with that thing there, so I'll just say to Ella that I can't promise that I'll love you for the rest of my life, but I'll promise to love you for the rest of yours. To the bride and groom. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, come on, the father of the bride. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for the most important man here with us this afternoon. Would you please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for the groom!
thank you, Keir. That was a lovely speech. I was pretty sure you was going to cry. I was going to have 50 quid with Joe, but didn't do it. Firstly, on behalf of Ella and myself, I'd like to thank you all for being here today. It's made our day really special. And as Keir said, I'd like to take a moment to remember the people that couldn't be with us. And again, in particular, Ella's grandparents, Jane and George, and my grandparents, Pam and Bill. We're so sad that they're not sharing this day with us, but we know they're here in spirit. So I'd like to thank our guests that have travelled overseas to be here today. All the way from Dubai, we got Hosky and Hayley and Dan and Charlotte at the back. And obviously my brother, who we've already mentioned, all the way from New Zealand. And can we now take a moment to appreciate how beautiful the new Mrs. Cooper looks today. I'd now like to raise a toast to the bridesmaids, Faye, Talia and Peony, and also the flower girl, Lupin, wherever she is. There she is. So if you could all raise your glasses to the bridesmaids. Thank you. If the bridesmaids could come up, we've actually got you a small gift. So come up and get them. What is this one?
Love.
And I think we've also got gifts for our mothers. Don't worry, it's nothing too big. But budget couldn't stretch too far. Also, I'd like to thank all my groomsmen, my dad, Keir, John and Iggy, the ushers, obviously my son, I think he's gone to bed now, but I don't know where he is. And also the best men, Joe and Darren, all of you have been amazing. Your help and support with organising all of this has been precedented. And thank you all for your input with the events leading up to it as well. Keir, Keir, thanks for saving my eyebrows on the stag. But as you've already mentioned, you would have been in more trouble from Justine if you didn't. Justine and Keir, my new mother and father-in-law, thank you for making this whole day possible and also raising the daughter that I've come to fall in love with, build a life with and a family with, and I'm very happy to be part of your family. You're amazing grandparents to our kids and they love their Gugger and Pops very much. Right. Justine, I don't know if you remember right at the start of our relationship. It was a Friday night and I was in the pub in Broxbourne with none other than Hosky. Hosky gives wave. There he is in the back of the room. We thought we was going to have a quiet night in the pub, have a couple of drinks and that, but there was a crossing of wires, shall we say. Ella thought I was coming to spend the evening with her at thought I was coming to spend the evening with her at your house, and I didn't think we were seeing each other that night. But you rang me and said, and I quote, "If you know what's good for you, you will get your arse round here now." So with that, good old Hosky drove me round to your house. Well, this may be the only time I say this, but in a funny sort of way, you was right. So thank you for that, and thank you for the interrogation that followed. Right, so yeah. I'd like to thank you for supporting the biggest football club in London. Because if you were Spurs, there's no way this could work for me.
You may well.
You'd probably be walking around in a load of shit clobber and have a cockerel tattooed on your leg. Or worse still, the word Spurs on your arse in really small writing. As lovely as Ella is, it would be a deal breaker. I just couldn't live with a Tottenham supporter. Unfortunately for you, you're not that lucky. But all jokes aside, I think you've both done a great job of being Ella's parents and guiding her into someone that I'd want to marry. So thank you. Mum and Dad, whilst I won't be taking any marriage advice from you both, thank you for making me the man I am today. Really? It's my day. Mum, I know you would go to the end of the earth for me if I asked you to, and it's really comfy in knowing that you've always got my best interests at heart. As much as your nagging about pretty much everything wears me down at times, I know it comes from a good place, and you're always my go-to person when I'm struggling to get around a problem, usually a health and safety issue at work. Dad, where do I begin? I don't know where I'd be without you. Thank you for always being there when shit hits the fan, and for teaching me pretty much everything I know. And I'd like to also thank you and Rob for teaching me the ropes of the building game. For those 5 years I worked for you both, I could have cried some days, and I'll never forget those cold winters. But it gave me what I needed to build my own successful business that I have now. So thank you both for that opportunity. Dad, you're always there when it really matters. The rest of the time, you're either setting fire to things, teaching the kids rude nursery rhymes, or watering your plants in the rain. Your work ethic is second to none, and thank you for installing that into me. You're a tough act to follow. Oh, and thanks for letting me build a fuck-off house in the garden. So Mum and Dad, what I'm trying to say is thank you for being the support that you are, and also being amazing grandparents to our children, and I love you both dearly. I do often think to myself, I am a lucky man to have the family that I have. They're always so supportive of whatever I'm doing. My brother John, although it's hard you being on the other side of the world these days, it always brightens my day talking to you. Jill, Rob, Alison and Pete, and my cousins Rob and Faye, thank you for always being there for me. Oh, and I do have one final thank you, and that is to Billy, my business partner and good friend. I probably spend as much time with him as I do my family, and he annoys the shit out of me every day. But I love him like a brother, and wouldn't have been able to do some of the things I've done without him. Billy is that person you can call in the middle of the night when you're up Shit's Creek, and he will come to your rescue and he has done on more than one occasion. Bill, I know you will hate the fact I put you in my speech, but that's partly why I did it. And also, I just wanted to say thank you. Moving on, I want to share with you the story of how Ella and I met. I first knew of Ella around 20 years ago. I think I was around 14 years old. It was back in the days of MSN Messenger. Most of you remember that. One evening, a couple of my mates, I think Ben Pring, where are you? And Elwood, wherever you are. I'm pretty sure you was there. It was a long time ago. Us and some of Ella's mates decided to meet up and go out to Marconato's. For those of you that don't know it, it's a lovely Italian restaurant locally. Do a lovely chicken Caesar salad. I don't know why we chose to go there, but it probably had something to do with the fact that they would serve 13 and 14-year-olds flaming Zambucas and not ask for ID. I remember seeing Ella and straight away thought that there was something special about her. But at that age, I'd not developed my pulling skills. So the conversation was minimal between Ella and I. I remember thinking that she was just way out of my league. Fast forward 20 years, she snores like a fully grown lager lout and can burp louder than anyone I know. So, never judge a book by its cover. That couldn't be true in this case. As time went on, we grew older, and I used to often bump into Ella on nights out in Hertford. Don't worry, we're nearly there. Often Thursday nights in Stonehouse, we'd always say hello to each other and have a chat, but as Ella was in a relationship 99% of the time, it was purely friendship. So for the next part, I need to set the scene a bit. So I think it was the summer of 2016, and Joe and Hosky decided to move in together at Elping Court in Broxbourne. Elping Court sits conveniently just behind the Ball pub. We'd often go into the pub, order a round of drinks, then take them on a tray back round to the flat. You would normally always get a weird look from someone driving along Broxbourne High Road as you travelled a short distance back to the flat. Anyway, at the time, Joe and Hosky claimed it was going to be the next, how can I put it politely, bachelor pad, let's say. But we're in a few weeks of moving in together. Hosky got himself a girlfriend, and Joe got Kimbo pregnant. So luckily for the women of Essex and Hertfordshire, it was short-lived. One night we were back at the flat with about 200 people as normal. It was around 3 or 4 a.m. and my phone went. It was Ella. I was so shocked, I jumped out of my seat to go away from the noise of the ongoing party. In the panic that Ella Newman was calling me, I forgot to put my shoes and socks on. So I spent the next hour walking up and down Broxbourne High Road barefooted on the phone to Ella. The next day, Ella and I were messaging back and forth, and she suggested we go from some food and a catch-up. I didn't know what she meant by a catch-up, but I was ecstatic at the idea, and shortly after, booked good old Marconato's. Unlike the first time we met at Marconato's, Ella was very chatty. In fact, I couldn't get a word in edgeways. This was also the first time I'd met Joel, Ella's cousin, as he was in there with his mate Luke, keeping an eye on me. It finished up a nice evening between us, but I still didn't know what the fuck was going on. The following Saturday, Ella invited me into Hertford to watch the Arsenal game with her, Keir and Iggy. We met in the White Hart after meeting... White Hart. After meeting Ella's dad for the first time, I thought, this geezer loves Arsenal and he loves Guinness. I'm on to a winner here. I remember Ig being really young and clearly hadn't woken up the party animal that lied within. Later that afternoon, Justine joined us, and after about 15 pints of Guinness, me, not Justine, we went back to theirs at Tamworth Road, where someone thought it would be a good idea for me to have a go on Ig's Segway. So highly intoxicated me, without a second thought, jumped on Iggy's Segway. And shortly after that, I met Kieran Justine's lounge floor face first. This happened a good few times. After a while, the Segway was getting the better of me, much to everyone else's amusement. When I woke up mine the next day with a grey face and bruises everywhere, the previous night's antics all came flooding back to me. And my initial thought was, well, fuck that up, I'll never see her again. Roll on 8 years, and here we are with 2 beautiful children and a whole life we've built and are still building together. Ella and I have been through so much together. Probably more than the average couple goes through. And at times the relationship has been tested, but we've grown stronger together after each setback. Ella, you're an amazing mother to our children, and I have nothing but love and respect for you. You and the kids are my absolute everything. I know you don't always realise it, but everything I do is for you and them. I love waking up here every day with you and feel blessed that you are now my wife. I'd also like to say that Ella has done a fantastic job of organising the whole day today, pretty much single-handedly. And it's been a tough year of planning for her. There was me thinking I'd done my bit by proposing, but for the last year I've got home from work every day to Bridezilla. So before I hand over to the best men for their 5 minutes of fame, could I please ask you all one last time to raise a glass to my wife and the new Mrs. Cooper. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, just before the best men speak to us, Father of the Bride would like a few more words.
Sorry, I forgot something in my speech. Is that funny, is it? This is for Will. I got him this because this is how many birds he met before Ella. Oh, listen, I can't leave my little girl out of this one. Mrs. Cooper. Hey! Justine's horrified. Look at her face, look. It's all right. Cheers, buddy. Like that, Steve? Steve, you like that? Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for the ones you've all been waiting for. Would you please put your hands together? Let's make some noise for the best men!
Yeah. Good afternoon, ladies and gents. For those that don't know us, my name is Joe and this is Darren. For those that do know us, we can only apologise. The two of us have been friends with Will for 24 years, and it is a great privilege to have been asked to be part of Will and Ella's wedding day as best men. I'd like to start off by saying how beautiful Ella looks today. Also, the mums, Sally and Justine, look fantastic. The bridesmaids look stunning. I'd also like to mention how handsome, suave, charming, elegant, dashing and debonair Darren and I look today. Will, you don't scrub up too badly either, son.
Oh, you're not so confident now, are you, Darren? I would like to echo on Joe's words on how lovely the bridal party looked today. Elle, you look incredible, And let's all be honest, we are thinking the same thing. How on earth has this little chav managed to bag a girl like Ella? As much as you all look fantastic today, I've only got eyes for one woman, Gracie. That's Gracie sitting over there. She's sitting next to John. John, put your hand up. John, he holds the title for the second biggest nose in Nazing. Because the person who has got the biggest nose in Nazing goes to the groom, Mr. Will Cooper. I know what you're all thinking. People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. But it's a privilege to stand here as one of Will's best men, sharing this wonderful experience with another best friend of mine, Joe. Although I did question my decision after my two best mates recently got matching Arsenal tattoos on their legs. For those who don't believe me, I have got proof. Oh shit, I think they're the wrong photos. Sorry, Joe. Listen, it would be very unfair on me if I now wasn't to show you a naked photo of myself. This was taken a week ago, and it's a competition that I regularly enter.
I first met Will in the year 2000 during our first year at Sherody Secondary School. The school was made up of kids that did not get into the good schools in the area, kids with behaviour issues, and kids that were very good at rolling spliffs and graffiti, or in Darren's case, all of the above. For some reason, our parents had decided it was best equipped to provide us with a solid education that would start us off in life. As you all know, if you work hard at school and get good exam results, you have the opportunity to stay on in the sixth form and do further education. And even though they begged us to stay, we decided to leave and pursue careers as tradesmen at 16. Will and myself had somehow found ourselves in the top set, 7R. And from day one, we stuck out like a sore thumb. The boffins would scratch their heads wondering how two Wallies had got their feet under the table with the elite. I spent most of my classes turned around in my chair trying to make Will laugh, and would often get pulled up by the teachers for being disruptive. Will used to find it hilarious to egg me on to do stupid things, and I lapped it up. One particular memory that sticks out is when Will told me I wouldn't have the bottle to draw a great big cock and balls on my chair in an English lesson. Just as I was finishing the pubes, I looked up to see Mrs. Jefferson, our English teacher, staring down at me. I was sent out of the class to go and get something to clean it up with. This task would have been so much easier if I hadn't used a Sharpie.
When we weren't busy learning, we found ourselves sneaking off into the nature reserve, smoking cigarettes. That soon progressed onto smoking the herb. Sorry, Paul and Sally. But I love spending my summers here, round Will's house. There was always something for us to do. The highlight that sticks out in my mind was us bombing around, two 13-year-old boys in a mini metro, tearing up Paul's and Sally's grass. And I'm sure that sticks out in their memory too. Despite this, Sally used to drive us to Northfield Market on a weekend where we could buy the latest Garage Nation CD and a pair of fake Night TNs, which still Will buys to this day. I'm surprised he's not wearing them today with his Green Tech uniform. one of the highlights of school back in those days was our PE lesson. We used to go down to Hoddesdon Town where there was a snooker club where all the kids would smoke fags, mingle with the local pissheads and go to Captain Cod for a chip butty and a can of drink for £1. Although none of us went on to become the next Ronnie O'Sullivan, we got to leave school for an hour to piss around with our mates. And when I think back to school and reminisce, it's always these memories that I do hold dearly. Being with my mates, having a laugh and not taking ourselves too seriously. We've got friends for life, and I'm sure that Will would agree too.
After the school years, we hit the next milestone of growing up and we started passing our driver's tests. And it was safe to say that everywhere Will was going, he was going fast. Those were the days when the boy racing scene was at its peak, and most lads would have their heads buried in Max Power magazine looking at great big sets of alloy wheels. For Will, when it came to choosing a car, it was the louder the better. You would have done well to find someone with a bigger exhaust pipe in the Hertfordshire and Essex area. Although we had mobile phones back then, we didn't need them, because when Will said he was coming round to pick me up, all I had to do was leave the window open and I could hear him screaming round Hoddesdon Clock Tower. This was my 2-minute heads up to get out the front door. As we got older, the cars became less of a novelty and we was more interested in drinking and trying to pull girls. Trying being the key word. We was like the in-betweeners back then, a group of clueless lads who would spend most weekends piled into a motor on some sort of road trip to go and get completely wasted somewhere. Our mate Hosky perfectly aligned with the character Jay in In-Betweeners, and he was our designated drink driver. He would tell everyone that he had a technique for fooling police breathalyzers by sucking on a penny for 2 minutes. And even if he did get banged up, the copper in his bloodstream would make any sort of prosecution impossible. They'd have to let him walk free. If that failed, he would probably say, "Relax, I sold a car to a judge the other week, he owes me a favour." I'm not sure if it was a stroke of genius or incredible luck, but he never did get caught and saved us a fortune in cabs. No matter what road trips and cities we ended up in, we always ended up and gravitated back to one place, and that was the Stonehouse in Hertford. It's changed names probably 10 times since we used to drink in there, and many years have passed since you could get a drink for £2 and jump around like lunatics to Mr. Brightside. But this was the place to be. People used to queue around the block to get in. I've been drinking in the Stonehouse since the age of 16 using a fake ID. And in my wisdom, I thought it was a great idea on my 18th birthday to turn up using my own ID. This cunning plan ended up with me getting barred for a year. After the 5 minutes of abuse had finished, it was Will that reminded me that in our group we never leave a man behind, and we had a year to soak up Hertford nightlife elsewhere.
One Christmas, we had to venture outside Hertford, obviously, and on a recommendation from one of my Speedway mates, we all took a drive down to a club called Hammer Dangerous in Rochester. We had 5 cars full up with blokes. However, when we arrived, the club had a massive queue and there was no chance of us getting in. But the night was not gone. We happened to come across if I was to continue with this conversation, there will be a lot of ending relationships. Paul, Rick, Mark, Lou. There'll be a few awkward conversations after that. Speaking of awkward conversations, I recently escaped a very awkward conversation with my neighbour, Alf, the angry Italian. Alf had recently spent all summer building a state-of-the-art greenhouse. Now one Saturday morning, Will offered to come round and help me cut some monster trees down which are on the border of my property and next door Alf's property. In true Alf style, we had no proper tools. The only thing we could find was a blunt saw. But Will, being the professional that he is, I have full faith that this wouldn't be a problem. So we climbed up the ladder to tackle the biggest tree first. We got halfway through the trunk and we realised, shit, this tree has started to tower over into next door's garden over the greenhouse. At this point, I'm starting to panic, and I turned to Will. I saw his face, and then I really started to panic. Of course, true rookie style, we had no rope. All we had was some manky old cable, which we tied to the top of the tree. At this point, we quickly realised that Will is not a bodybuilder like myself, what you saw earlier, and he didn't have the strength to hold the tree from falling over into the greenhouse next door. In a moment of desperation, Will suggested to tie the cable onto the back of a little Citroen C1's bumper. I got in the car and I floored it. I looked round, the bumper is halfway up my garden, and the tree had fallen over into Angry Alf's garden. You'd be glad to know it only missed the greenhouse by a couple of feet.
I remember the day when Will turned up at my flat in Broxbourne. He had a smug look on his face, and I said to him, "What are you so happy about?" He said, "I've started messaging Ella Newman, and I'm going to take her out for a drink." I knew how much this meant to him, because even though they already knew each other as friends, Will had always fancied her. Will and Ella started going out, and it wasn't long before a good friendship formed between Ella and my Mrs. Kimberly, and in 2017 the four of us took a trip to Amsterdam, which mainly consisted of me and Will doing a coffee shop crawl, absolutely buckled on the local delicacies, whilst the girls looked round the clothes shops. The girls were not too impressed that we managed to get ourselves in such a state before the trip to Anne Frank's house that we had booked. I'm told it was a very good trip, and for those of you planning to visit the city, TripAdvisor has it as the fourth best thing to do while you are there.
Throughout our lives, Will continues to impress us constantly with his workmanship and his knowledge of the building industry. He lives in a beautiful house just behind us, which he built himself. So much hard work, blood, sweat and tears went into that, which we admire so much. But credit where credit is due. I think he owes a lot to his dad Paul and his uncle Rob, where he worked for them for a number of years learning his trade. However, as all of us are probably aware, Paul Cooper, he's a fantastic builder, but he does have his moments. Like the time he put his wet running trainers into the oven to dry them out. When he finally remembered to take them out of the oven 2 hours later, they shrunk 2 sizes. But Paul being Paul, and as tight as he is, I bet you he's never thrown them trainers away, and he still wears them to this day.
All of the joking and funny antics aside, Will has always been there for me as a true friend, whether it be giving me life advice, towing my car home when I'd broken down, or travelling to the hospital to give me moral support when my kids were being born.
I briefly mentioned Will's terrible dress sense, his love for his fake night TNs and his green tech uniform, which you'll find him wearing while he's working in this garden or if he's going to go out for a Sunday roast in London. But that's why I love him. He's the most humble man I know, and he's a fantastic father to his 2 kids, Lupin and William. And I've no doubt that he's going to be a fantastic husband to you as well.
You would do well to find a more genuine, sincere and loyal bloke on this planet, and I'm so pleased that you've met your perfect match in it, Ella. We wish you all of the happiness you deserve as you enter this new chapter in your life as husband and wife. We could talk for hours about the antics we've got up to over the years, but I know everyone is keen to get a drink down their neck and have a dance. We've tried to keep the stories as clean as possible, and for that reason we had to leave out Will falling in love with a stripper in Tenerife in 2009. Could everyone please raise their glasses to Mr. and Mrs. Cooper?
Ladies and gentlemen, one more time please, the best men! So ladies and gentlemen, the best men's speech does mark the end of the formalities of the wedding breakfast today. It is time for our bride and groom to leave us. They are going to make their way outside for a big group photograph with all of you. So once they've left, we're going to ask you to follow them, follow the photographers for that big group photograph. Later this evening, cake cutting and first dance around 7:45, so just probably about 50 minutes or so from now. Just be mindful, at 2:45 we are going to be calling you and getting you all in the right place, ready for the cake cutting and first dance. So ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you all just one more time to stand for me, please? So ladies and gentlemen, this time there's no music, it's just you. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please put your hands together for your bride and groom as they leave their wedding breakfast. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Mr. and Mrs. Cooper!